Today we're going to rank the rookie running backs for the 2024 NFL Draft for Dynasty Fantasy Football purposes. We're going to put these running backs into tiers every week. We add 3 more running backs to the rankings. You want to watch till the end to see who are the new 3 running backs for this week. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. This is the tier maker. This is what we're looking at for this week. These running backs will be ranked into tiers, and we're going to talk about these running backs ad nauseum. That being said, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're talking about Dynasty Rookie Drafts, Dynasty Leagues, helping you build your Dynasty teams all off-season long, all year long. Ric Flair is also watching. You don't want to disappoint him. Click that button. Stop missing out. But you see the tiers. They're not 1 through 10, A through Z, A1, A2, A3, Flyer 1, Flyer 2. Why is that? Because this running back class is weird. Why not just admit it? Why not just rank it that way? And why not just be real about that? The draft is going to be a big intangible to how we value these running backs. Landing spot's going to matter, so why not rank it right now like it's going to matter and be fluid with these running backs, but still have our preferences? That's what we're doing here today. We're going to start with our first running back, though, and we're going at random because everything on this channel is at random. That being said, come on down, Jonathan Brooks. And I'm going to put him right here in the middle, and we're going to talk about Jonathan Brooks because he is a key part of this running back class, one of the top running backs in this class when you look at the metrics and the tape. Very electric, good in space, catch the ball in the backfield. Has top tier upside in this class, would be the RB1 hands down. If it weren't for the ACL. The ACL is a bugaboo with him because you know what? You're looking at 2025 for him. However, when it comes to the rest of these running backs, it's not like it's a stout running back class. Most of these running backs, you're looking for 2025, later 2024. Pretty much same thing with Jonathan Brooks. That being said, when you put everything in account, we're drafting talent over situation. ACLs ain't everything anymore. This ain't Brian's song anymore. Jonathan Brooks going to the A1 tier. But we got to move on. We got to look at our next running back. But I better explain A1, A2, A3. So pretty much they're close in value. A1 and A3 are. But I like the A1 guys a little bit more. I like them due to draft capital. I like them due to what I see on tape. I see A3 guys not being too far off from A1 guys. They just need to go in the right situation and really need to be in a pathway where I can see them climb the depth chart and I could see them be fantasy relevant. Because if they have that path to have that happen, you know what? They might as well be A1 because this class is weird. This class is ambiguous. Who's next coming off the board? Blake Corum. Blake Corum coming off the board. Let's talk about him. He is the muscle hamster of this year's class. He's a lunch pail running back, good between the tackles. 2022, his junior season, phenomenal, very productive. This year had a ramp-up part of the season, and then a back 9 of the season, he went off. Did well at the combine. He's jacked up 27 reps on the bench press, but that ain't everything for the running back position, really. It's barely anything. When we think about him, though, he's very dependable. If I'm an NFL coach, I'll have him up here. Fantasy-wise, right around this area, really. Like, I can't put him in A3. I know he's going to get draft capital. I know he's going to be drafted on day 2 somewhere. He's got the production. He's not a top-tier level running back. When I say that, he's not up there with the top running backs. We don't have one of those. I think the dependability gets him on the field soon. I think he's a safe running back in those regards. I think upside might be limited because he's not one of those backs with 4.3 speed like some of the other running backs. You may not like that, but his dependability, his ability to be dependable in pass protection, running it between the tackles, doing what's asked about him, and then him getting draft capital, more than likely that's going to happen. Him having the size to tote the rock. He's going to be part of a committee like 99% of these running backs are. I think he's safe there. But let's move on to our next running back, and they're kind of going in a certain order. Trey Benson, come on down. Trey Benson's one of those running backs. I look at him, and I'm like, man, you got the tools there. You got the tools to be a big-time player at the NFL. You got the tools to be a top 5 back, top 10 back, wherever, somewhere around there. You got the tools for it. You got the speed, you got the size, you got the athleticism, you got the burst. Every so often, you see him try to stretch out a run, you see the vision, you see a little hiccup here and there. But also, on the flip side of that, devil's advocate, you also see him look good on tape. You also see that as well. You'll see him find the hole, you see him have good vision, but you'll see him in the second level and you see that pop in the step. Came out with a 4.39 40-yard dash at the combine. Good size, adjusted athleticism. And we talk about this running back class not being good. The thing about this year's running back class is we got a lot of running backs better than Miles Sanders, and a lot of you guys loved him coming up for the draft. The thing about that, Trey Benson, I regard him better than him. I regard him better than a back like that. Same with Blake Corum. I say Trey Benson. So in the tiers, I got Trey Benson in A1. Top tier guy, right? Top tier of my A's. Top A guy. The thing is, any given day, and really due to draft position and landing spot, they can move around for me. And then the words I say about them probably hold the most value. Like Jonathan Brooks is pretty locked in. If you're impatient, you don't want to wait, you may want to move on to the other guys. If you love size adjusted athleticism, you're probably more into Trey Benson. If you like running backs who's dependable, you know who's going to get draft capital, you feel good that they're going to make a statement for their team, that's Blake Corum. Easy, right? Easy, right? We're moving on. We're moving on to our next running back. I really don't know how to rank this guy. I really do not know where to put him. Bucky Irving, come on down. Bucky Irving. You put him on tape, looks good between the tackles. You can put him out in the slot, can run routes, catch balls out of the backfield. We got a lot of upside, and that upside in the passing game could equate to fantasy production. Even prior to the combine, we were not looking at him as being an RB1 for a team. Maybe a guy that could get a significant amount of touches, and that could still happen in the passing game. I think we got to slow our roll with him a little bit. I don't know if he's in A3 territory or Flyer 1 territory. Really depends on the draft capital, how the NFL likes him. The receiving production, the potential impact in the passing game could put him up here. What we saw at the combine was size-adjusted athleticism could put him down here. He's right around here. He's hovering. Let's just put him in A3. We can move him down in the next few weeks because we do this about every single week. Next player coming off the board here, Braelon Allen. Let's talk about him. Braelon Allen is an interesting case study for this year's draft. A bigger running back who has top-end speed, but he lacks burst. You see that especially at the point of contact. You see that in the second level of the defense when he's running. He does get chased down a bit, but once he hits that top end, he's a scary running back. He's got size. He was productive early in his career at Wisconsin. During that time at Wisconsin had one of the top offensive lines in the country, though. Wisconsin is a good place for running backs like him. Straight line runners. He has excellent vision, and he has excellent footwork. However, can't chain together moves too great. We're kind of too slow to get to the top end. That's kind of scary. His receiving production, although it ramped up this year, it's kind of by default due to a new offensive coordinator. When I look at him, right fit, right opportunities, around here. You look at his profile, it's like around here. We're going to keep him there. We're going to keep him there. He's more than flyer territory for me. I think he's going to get decent draft capital. I don't think it's going to be through the moon. You just got to hope he goes to the right team. But we're moving on to our next player here, Jaylen Wright. And you got to stick with me. I think we got a new guy going into A1 today. You got to stick with me. If you hit that subscribe button right now, I might tell you now via text. But Jaylen Wright, we got to talk about him. Jaylen Wright, come on down. Come on down, Jaylen Wright. Size adjusted, athleticism. We had some production at the SEC level compared to some of the other running backs in this class. That allows them to stand out. If this was a deeper running back class, then that wouldn't carry as much weight. However, Jaylen Wright's got some goods to his game. In a shallow running back class, that puts him on notice a little bit more. Where I have him ranked for the goods and the finer nuances around this area, but the size adjusted athleticism gives him more upside, so I'm going to put him there. I'm going to keep him there for now, and it's because we're chasing the upside. If he gets the draft capital, which I think it might, late second round, early third round, Jaylen Wright's probably going to be a good A2 guy. Let's move on. Let's move on to our next player here. Marshon Lloyd. Come on down. Let's hang out right there for a second. I like Marshon Lloyd a lot. Good size, adjusted athleticism, catches the ball in the backfield. Good between the tackles. And we're in the right draft class for him because no one's just overblowing the market with talent here. So he can really jump some running backs and get value considering there's not much competition on the board. That being said, when I think about Marshon Lloyd, I just keep moving him up. We're going to A1. He's with these guys. You can get him in the second round, clear cut. He's not going to the third round anymore unless the NFL sends him to hell and sends him to day 3. I doubt that. He's a good running back, got good size, adjusted athleticism. He's good in the passing game. He's good at all phases. Marshon Lloyd, that's where you belong. But it's time to move on to our next running back. It's Audric Estimé. Audric Estimé is a running back that you got to pay attention to in the draft. You got to see how the NFL likes him because he's a very good running back prospect. He's good between the tackles. He has the best vision out of anybody in this class. It's up there. Maybe not the best, but one of the top guys in this class when it comes to vision and approach to the line of scrimmage. Great footwork, moves laterally very well. We're not there at the top end speed. We're not there at the burst. We can't get caught from behind, but he's a bigger running back that can deliver a blow. That's good between the tackles. We've seen running backs like that produce before, even if they go in day 3. He's a guy you don't want to ignore just because he looks slower at the combine, just because his numbers aren't that great. You may want to point out his pro day, but if you adjust that out, it's still not a great number for him or for any running back for that matter. That being said, when you look at Audric Estimé, do not ignore him, but you really got to see where he goes in the draft. That's going to be very indicative to how much production you're going to get out of him. We're going to put him here in A3. We're going to see what happens. We're going to move on, though. We're going to move on to our next running back. One of my favorites. One of my favorite running backs in the class, Will Shipley. Come on down. I like Will Shipley a lot. We got good size, adjusted athleticism. We can catch balls out of the backfield. We can be used between the tackles. He's very efficient at all phases. And I love the value with him. And when it comes to running backs, when it comes to these tiers, A2, A3, value-wise and how people have him ranked is probably like around here. I think I'm going to put him up here. I think he's a little bit more dependable. And Will Shipley's got the goods where he can be used in the passing game and get more opportunities than compared to a Bucky Irving. More athletic, more size. The thing about him, Will Shipley, higher pedigree, all that stuff. Draft capital is going to matter, but may not. It really depends on his situation and landing spot. He's a guy that, since he's good in the passing game, you want to pay attention to. Jaylen Wright is more of a home run swing than he is a dependable asset. There is a big downside with him. But we also got to value home run swings. Because if you don't, and you're not willing to strike out once in a while, then you're going to miss out on a Jaylen Wright that hits. And he may not hit. He may fall on his face. But we can see and we can make the story of how he can hit at the NFL level. And how he can be a big deal. If he lands in the right spot, that size adjusted athleticism hits. That's how we can tell our story. But we got to move on to our next player here. And we're going to go with Grondo here. And we're just going to rank him. I have him as a top tier flyer due to the size adjusted athleticism. I like the pop in his step. I think we might get draft capital. I think it's going to be late. I'm going to put him in flyer 2 because I'm not drafting him in the 3rd round of rookie drafts. 4th, 5th round I'm cool with. 3rd round's a little rich considering how deep the wide receiver class is. On top of that, there's some good running backs who don't have the size adjusted athleticism that stack up with them as well. And I really want flyer 1 to have some value here. But I look at him as a flyer. I look at him as a guy you pick up and you hope for the best with. Next, Ray Davis. Ray Davis is an interesting running back prospect considering size adjusted athleticism, considering his vision, toughness, all that between the tackles. I'm really going to put him on A3. He's kind of like a mix between A3 and a flyer 1. So you can just put him here. He's a mix. I don't see him getting top tier draft capital. I can see him being faded a little bit by the NFL. Maybe we put him on flyer 1. third-round rookie draft pick. Some of the guys ahead of him are third-round rookie draft picks, like Will Shipley could be. He could be late second, but I like Will Shipley a lot more. Ray Davis, a flyer, but when you think of his skill set versus like a Bucky Irving, size-adjusted athleticism, or maybe even a Braelon Allen, can you really have him in a different tier? Let's just put him there. Let's have him hang out in A3 this week. Maybe we change it next week. Next running back we're going to talk about here is Dylan Labe. Dylan Labe, Grando, kind of in a similar boat. But when I think about these two running back prospects, I like Labe a little bit more. I like his usage in the passing game. I think that can give us some upside. I like his burst in the open field. I like what I saw on tape. I think he's a guy that could get an opportunity at the next level. Moving on to our next guy, Isaiah Davis. He's a flyer one type of dude. I can see him getting drafted in rounds 4 or 5 and being a guy who climbs the depth chart, maybe be an RB2 for a team, but is very good between the tackles. Might get you 6 weeks of production here and there throughout his career, or be a guy who bombs out, but that's what flyers are for. Kendall Milton. I like him between the tackles. He's kind of dependable. I think he's a very good running back prospect. Now we're on to our next 3 running backs, our new 3 guys for the week. First one, Dylan Johnson. Come on down. What I like about him is he's good at catching passes out of the backfield. I like backs who can catch balls out of the backfield due to PPR. I like taking shots on them with my last picks in the draft. That being said, he's a guy I'm looking at. Cody Schrader, we had some production in the SEC. There is some upside there. Size-adjusted athleticism, we got a question. I think the odds of him hitting isn't as good as these guys. I don't have too much love for him. I'm going to put him in flyer 2. Frank Gore Jr., though, I've got a lot of Devy shares. I got him because the name, I'm not going to lie, I read up a lot about him years ago. I kind of liked him. I got my shares. I may not be getting too much more, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't. I just already got mine. That being said, I like Frank Gore Jr. I think in the back part of the draft, he's a guy to look at, especially for NFL teams. He could be a guy that can give you some depth. He's very sturdy. He's a good running back to have. I think flyer 1 is a good spot for him. Keep an eye on him. If you're in the flyer range, it's not that you're bad. It's just you're in the back half of the NFL draft. The odds are against you. You really just need injuries to go your way to jump up. And we're talking about Dynasty Fantasy Football here. We're not talking about ranking the running backs as players here or ranking them as who's the better running back, but who's the better fit for strategies for Dynasty Fantasy Football. Because going back to this, if we're ranking for just running backs, Jaylen Wright's really like around here. But we're ranking for some upside, size-adjusted athleticism, taking that splash home run play. We'll put him there because if he goes behind the right offensive line, gets some opportunities, kind of like a Keaton Mitchell per se, that could be a home run for you. However, when you think about an Audric Estimé, he's a dependable running back with good vision. That could be a home run, but he needs that situation even more. He needs that even more. He needs a more clear depth chart. He needs to be the guy, and it could be for a short period of time as well. So you got to be able to turn and burn that roster. Very similar to a Braelon Allen, but a little different. They're not player comps. Bucky Irving, size-adjusted athleticism, needs some time, needs a good depth chart. Ray Davis, very similar, and we got to question the draft capital there. But I like Marshon Lloyd. If I have a guy in this class, it's Marshon Lloyd. I like him a lot. I'm moving him up. I like everybody else in A1. They're all cool with me. But I also am not in love with this running back class. I'm very fluid with it. I can move someone from A1 to A3 in a heartbeat, and I would not blink an eye because I'm not in love with this running back class. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.